you can say, advice is to get up a little early and chant, because morning is the best time for chanting. You get up a little early and chant and read a little bit at that time, then you'll have a foundation for the day. You'll find your one step. When I was first coming, I was a student at the University of Buffalo, 1968 actually. I moved in the temple, and so I was living in a temple. We had to get up early and chant and everything, and then I would go to class. But I felt that gave me an advantage, really. I didn't feel that my material so-called work, whatever you're doing to earn your money, or student, or whatever you're doing, it won't suffer if you get up a little early and chant Hare Krishna. But the only difficulty is you have to shut off the television at night and take rest a little early. So that may be a little difficult, but it's worth it. If you take rest by 9:30, 10, then it's no trouble getting up before an hour earlier than you usually get up. And then that's the best time. Not that you should be so sleepy you can't get up, but if you go to bed early, you'll be able to do that. Okay, maybe I can have time for one question if anybody. I first came to Boston as a devotee in 1968. I was living in a temple in Buffalo, and my brother was here, actually. I had to come to see him for something. And the temple devotee, I remember, the temple president was there, was Rupanuga, and he gave me, it was in the summer of 1968, he gave me a big squash to give to the temple in Boston. And I remember, from the garden, we had a garden there. But I haven't been back so often. Maybe I'll come more often now. I see such nice people.
Please.
Do we have time for one question?
Yeah.
Yes.
What made you come to Krishna, and how did Prabhupada affect that process?
Yeah. Well, Prabhupada was very much instrumental into it. I mean, without Prabhupada, I don't know if I could have come. I was looking for something. I was into yoga. I was a Roman Catholic. I had turned away from that. And I was, trying to enjoy life, so-called. I didn't want to feel that there was a God that made me feel guilty. So I was more like an agnostic or atheist even. But then that didn't satisfy me, so I was attracted to yoga. But it was kind of an impersonal yoga conception I had. I remember I read Bhagavad Gita at that time and thought, oh, why is this Krishna always getting in the way? I wanted to just merge or something. But then when I met the devotees at the campus, and I was, I thought they were sincere. That's one thing I thought. They're serious and sincere. I didn't really agree with them about Krishna being God and everything. But then they were so strong about their conviction, and they're talking about Bhagavad Gita as it is, Bhagavad Gita. And I had heard of Bhagavad Gita, so I listened to what they had to say, and I thought, I'm going to go to the university, to the library, and I got 4 or 5 editions of Bhagavad Gita, and I was going to prove them wrong. Yeah, that was my mood. I went to the library, I got all these different editions of Bhagavad Gita, Ramakrishna, whatever, and I tried to see, and I had to agree that what they were saying was right, what Prabhupada was saying was right, that Krishna is God. I mean, if you go by Bhagavad Gita, that's what Krishna is saying. So then I became a little thoughtful, and I liked the prasadam. And I always liked the kirtan. The first time I came into kirtan, I was dancing. But the philosophy was hard for me. But it wasn't until I met Prabhupada that I really became convinced. Prabhupada, the first time I met him, he sent me to London. We had just opened a center there. The 3 Grihastha couples had opened a center. They wanted a brahmachari because young men were joining. So Prabhupada sent me there in the summer of '69. And then he came soon afterwards, and I was the senior brahmachari, so the temple president asked me to be the one to give him massage every day. So I did that for 3 months when Prabhupada was there. And that when I really became convinced, because I came out of that thinking that this person is worshipable. I never thought any human being was worshipable. But after 3 months having Prabhupada's association, intimate association, I'll just tell a quick story. The first time Prabhupada came to London, there was a big pandal we had, and We invited so many people who came, we advertised. There must have been 300 people, 400 people in the auditorium. And mostly Hindus. But some of them were quite challenging. What about Lord Shiva? You know, and they were... And Prabhupada was very powerful with them. You know, like he told one man, "Sit down, you are nonsense." In the whole assembly, Prabhupada. So we had never seen Srila Prabhupada like that because he was a very humble person, you know, on his own. He was very humble. He was very humble. So, but here he was like a military commander, you know, sit down. And so we were just like awestruck. So that next day, it was like a series of lectures, so I was giving him a massage, and I was thinking like a trainer getting him in shape for another knockout performance. So I was massaging him and talking and massaging and talking, you know, kind of like, you know, Prabhupada, you're the greatest, and the mood was like, you and me, Prabhupada, we could take over the world. Something, you know, that's right. I was a New Yorker, you know. So like that, I was massaging, and suddenly he said, "No!" And then my hand froze on his body. And he was very, very sober. He said, "No," but very emphatically. Then with another voice, the voice of like a child, like this, how old are you? 6, 7?
7.
7, yeah, like a 7-year-old child. He said, from within his heart, "I am just a humble servant." So that's really what Prabhupada thought of himself. He didn't want to be jacked up by some stupid guy, you know, I'm more than I am. He was very grounded. He knew what he was. He knew that he was empowered and everything, but he always knew that he was a servant. So he was never unduly proud in any circumstance. So after things like that happened, then I came to see that this person really is my well-wisher. Even if he chastised me, that's for my good, because it was good for me. You know, when he said like that, then I also had to become humble. And I remember the thought that came into my mind was, I shouldn't be in the same room with this person. He's such an aristocrat, and I'm such a low-class, you know, New Yorker. And then the second realization was that, what to speak of being in the same room, I would never be allowed to touch him. You know, because he was such a high-class person, aristocrat. But here he was giving us a chance to touch him even. And I remember there was a rug on the floor, and I thought, I should go under that rug. So by Prabhupada being so humble, we also became a little humble. That was his association was like that. Association. So important. So you ask how important was Prabhupada's association? It was vitally important in my case. I mean, if he didn't chastise me, that wasn't even a chastise. Sometimes he really chastised me. If without that, I couldn't have remained, you know, because I was already spoiled in so many ways by women and drugs and atheism. But it was only Prabhupada's personality that he just grabbed me and obliged me to become a little qualified, only by his mercy. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Mahaprasadam ki Jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.